Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jack, and I specialize in peeling back the layers of reality to reveal the hidden, the unexplained, and often the truly chilling. And if you're looking for ordinary, you're in the wrong place. My mission is to unearth the deepest, most unsettling mysteries that lurk just beneath the surface of our world, the ones very few people ever discover. Today we're diving headfirst into a story so strange, so bizarre, it might just redefine what you think is possible. Prepare yourselves. This one, it might just stay with you long after the video ends. Okay, everyone, find a moment to think about mirrors, about how they reflect the present, showing us exactly as we are in that instant. A perfect passive window into our current reality. They are fundamental to our perception of self and space. But what if a mirror didn't show you the present? What if it showed you the future? A terrifying glimpse ahead, twisting your understanding of causality and self. We're talking about the room where mirrors lie, quantum reflection, and the horrifying cost of looking into tomorrow, Switzerland. A country known for its precision, its stability, its advanced research facilities nestled among stunning ancient geological formations. It was within one such highly classified research facility, perhaps specializing in experimental physics, quantum mechanics, or geological energy fields, that the anomaly was discovered. It was a specific test room within the facility. Outwardly it seemed unremarkable, a simple chamber designed for controlled experiments. But its key feature, or perhaps its terrifying flaw, was that its walls were entirely covered in high-quality mirrors. When researchers began conducting experiments inside, they noticed something profoundly wrong about the reflections. Looking into any mirror in the room, the reflection was not instantaneous. It showed you moving, reacting, performing actions, but consistently a noticeable few seconds ahead of your own physical movements. If you intended to raise your hand, the reflection of your hand would already be raised in the mirror a few seconds before you completed the action. It wasn't lag or a slow refresh rate. Rigorous testing confirmed it was a genuine temporal displacement, a consistent 3-second jump into the future of whatever was in the room. The mirrors were reflecting tomorrow just 3 seconds away. This was clearly quantum reflection, a visual phenomenon tied to a perception delay of reality itself. Initial investigation, led by physicists and perception scientists, Dr. Elias Thorne, theorizing on the physics of time, Dr. Anya Sharma, studying the perceptual effects, Ben Carter, analyzing data, focused on the mirrors themselves. Were they made of unusual material? Did they have hidden projectors? But the mirrors were standard. The anomaly was tied to the room, not the mirrors. Attempts to replicate the phenomenon in other rooms with identical mirrors failed. Investigation into the room's specific location within the facility yielded a crucial clue. The research facility itself was built in a region known for unusual geological properties, and this specific test room was located precisely at the geographical and magnetic midpoint between 3 unusually strong, naturally occurring magnetic cliffs or geological formations. These formations created a powerful, localized magnetic field confluence. This suggested a specific geological environmental configuration, perhaps acting like a form of natural sacred geometry, was the trigger or anchor for the temporal anomaly within the room. The Earth itself was somehow facilitating this temporal distortion. The mystery deepened. How did the room location enable mirrors to reflect the future? Was it a localized warping of space-time? Was it accessing a predicted future and rendering it visible? What was special about the magnetic midpoint of 3 points? What happened if you brought objects into the room? Did their reflection also show their future state? The implications for causality and free will were immense and terrifying. Driven By scientific imperative and a growing sense of dread and curiosity, researchers designed a dangerous experiment, attempting a temporal paradox. The idea was simple, horrifying in its implications. Perform an action based on the future reflection that directly contradicts that future reflection. The mirror shows you will do X in 3 seconds. You must intentionally do the opposite of X now, creating a causal loop, a temporal paradox that the room's anomaly might be forced to resolve. A subject, give them a name, perhaps a seasoned researcher, Dr. Lena Petrova, or a volunteer fully aware of the risks, was chosen for the experiment, monitored by multiple high-speed cameras and sensors recording every angle of the room and the subject's presence. The experiment commenced. Dr. Petrova entered the room, standing before a mirror. She focused, watched her reflection. The mirror showed her future self beginning to reach for a specific object placed on a table. According to the 3-second prediction, in 3 seconds, her real self would reach for that object. Now, she performed the deliberate, paradoxical action. She intentionally stood still when the mirror showed movement, or reached for a different object, or simply raised her opposite hand, actively contradicting the future reflection. At the moment the paradox was created, at the point where the future prediction was actively defied by present action, something happened. Dr. Petrova seemed to flicker, a visual distortion captured by the cameras, then she vanished completely from the view of all monitoring equipment in the room. She was gone. The room was empty, and she was gone for exactly 3 seconds, the precise duration of the future prediction window. Panic erupted in the monitoring room. The researchers watched the empty camera feeds, the sensor readings spiking erratically. Exactly 3 seconds after Dr. Petrova's disappearance, she flickered back into existence in the same spot she had vanished from. She was physically present, standing there, seemingly unharmed initially, but clearly disoriented and shaken. The terrifying twist became immediately apparent upon her reappearance. She was not wearing the clothes she had been wearing just moments before. She was wearing clothing of a completely unknown design, made of unfamiliar materials, strange to the touch and appearance. When she attempted to speak to the researchers calling out her name, the sounds she made were not her native tongue, nor any known language identified by immediate linguistic analysis. She was speaking a strange, alien language. The 3-second temporal displacement, triggered by the deliberate paradox, hadn't just held her in a temporal void. It had sent her somewhere else, an encounter or displacement during those fleeting 3 seconds that fundamentally changed her physically, her clothes, and linguistically. The twist. The subject in the room where mirrors lie experiment, who disappeared for exactly 3 seconds after attempting a temporal paradox, reappears wearing clothing of completely unknown origin and speaking a strange, unidentified language, proving the room is a gateway to other realities or timelines activated by temporal paradoxes. The implication was horrifying. The room was not just reflecting the future, it was a portal, a nexus point, a gateway tied to time, and potentially other realities, specifically activated or destabilized by deliberate temporal paradoxes. The do the opposite action, the conscious creation of a causal loop by contradicting the mirror's future, acted as a key or trigger mechanism for the anomaly to open, however briefly. The 3-second prediction time wasn't just a viewing window. It was the duration of the displacement, the time spent somewhere else, in another state of reality. The anomaly was using its own temporal framework for the shift, aligning the disappearance with its prediction window. The reappearance with unknown clothes and language meant the 3-second displacement wasn't just a brief time jump within this reality's future. It was a shift to an alternate timeline, another dimension, a parallel reality, or a terrifyingly brief interaction with an alien influence or entity during those 3 seconds that caused profound physical and linguistic changes, scarring her with evidence of where she had been. The quantum reflection effect of the mirrors reflecting the future was likely a byproduct of the room's connection to multiple temporal states or realities, or perhaps even a tool used by whatever entity or mechanism controlled the anomaly, allowing glimpses of probabilities or other timelines. The magnetic midpoint of the three cliffs wasn't just a location, it was the anchor for this nexus point, the source of the energy enabling the temporal and spatial shifts, a natural geological feature serving an unnatural purpose. The unknowing expanded into terrifying dimensions. Where did Dr. Petrova go in those 3 seconds? What happened to her? What is the source of the clothes and language? What other changes occurred that weren't immediately visible? What are the long-term effects of being displaced? What happens if the displacement is longer next time? The entity. Is there an entity controlling the room? Is the magnetic confluence itself sentient, aware, and capable of manipulating time and space? Is it an entity tied to time, dimension, paradox, or transformation, using the room as a trap or a testing ground? The time, the spiral, paradox, mind-bending, the eye, mirrors, vision, surveillance, the earth, geological link, the unknowing, the distortion, perception, reality warped, the machine, lab setting, tech affected, the stranger, unknown clothes, language, altered self, the body, physical change. The Magnus Archives horror was deeply temporal, spatial, and psychological. Seeing your future self, the terrifying paradox experiment, disappearing and reappearing from reality, the disorientation and fear of being fundamentally changed by a brief, impossible experience, all strike at the core of self and perception. The time, the spiral, the mind's eye, the distortion, the stranger, changed self. The room as a localized point of reality failure, a gateway to unknown places accessed via impossible means, makes the very space feel dangerous and unstable. The spiral room zero, spatial reality anomaly. The unknowing mechanism and purpose remain elusive. How does it predict? How does the paradox trigger it? Where do you go? What does the entity anomaly want? The unknowing. The eye is ever present through the mirrors, showing a warped version of reality, implying being watched by the future self or the entity behind the anomaly, perhaps drawing power from observation. The eye. The geological trigger suggests something ancient or fundamental about the planet tied to the anomaly, a secret held by the Earth. The Earth. The lab setting and cameras highlight human technology interacting with and being defeated by disappearance from camera, a non-technological anomaly, a chilling lab gone wrong scenario, the machine, the architectural lab. The burden on researchers now burdened with the knowledge of a temporal gateway they can activate, its dangerous transformative effects, and the changed state of their colleague, is immense. The burden. The quantum reflection was the window into a perception delay. Mind-bending science revealed a seasonal portal triggered by sacred geometry. The researchers, Dr. Sharma, Ben Carter, Dr. Thorne, Professor Volkov, Dr. Petrova, Captain Kowalski, Liam O'Connell, Kareem, Malika, the anonymous letter writer, the architect, the divers, the man who never aged, and the children whose drawings hold code, and the clandestine team, are left with the horrifying reality of a room in Switzerland that is a gateway to other realities, triggered by temporal paradoxes, capable of displacing individuals and changing them in fundamental unknown ways. The investigation continues under intense secrecy. They are intensely studying the returned subject, Dr. Petrova, attempting communication using every known linguistic method, analyzing the unknown clothes for material composition and origin, conducting detailed medical and psychological evaluations for other changes, internal, mental. Analyzing the room and mirrors. Is there any residual energy after the event? Was the anomaly altered by the displacement? More research into the magnetic cliffs and their history. Any legends? Any other anomalies reported there? Any connection to other known anomaly locations, linking to the Earth, the bell that rang underground, the city that hums, the staircase under the lake? The terrifying debate about attempting another paradox experiment rages. Is it too dangerous? Could the next displacement be longer? Permanent? Could something else come back? Could something be sent through? Can they learn about where she went from the unknown language or clothes? What happens if the language she speaks is related to the symbols on the staircase under the lake, or the message from the shadow that followed the satellite, or the code in the children's drawings? The fear is that Dr. Petrova is changed forever, potentially carrying something back with her from the other side. The fear that the room is now unstable, its gateway function amplified, ready to displace someone else or something else at any moment. The greatest fear is that the room, or the entity tied to it, is not just a passive anomaly, but something that actively preys on paradox and uses these brief displacements to interact with or infiltrate this reality. A terrifying gateway they've inadvertently opened further. The room where mirrors lie is real. It is a test room in a Swiss research facility located at the magnetic midpoint of 3 strong magnetic cliffs, where all mirrors reflect the future, 3 seconds ahead, due to a temporal anomaly. A temporal paradox experiment, doing the opposite of the reflection, causes a subject to disappear from camera for exactly 3 seconds. The twist reveals they reappear in unknown clothes and speaking a strange, unidentified language, proving the room is a gateway to other realities or timelines activated by temporal paradoxes. The Magnus Archives horror remains a chilling undercurrent, amplified by the personal transformation, the temporal violation, and the unknowable nature of the destination. The pervasive sense of dread that comes with knowing that a room exists that shows you the future, that defying that future opens a door to somewhere else, and that a fleeting moment of displacement can fundamentally change who you are. What is the room? Where does the gateway lead? What happened in those 3 seconds? What is Dr. Petrova now? What did she bring back? Sleep well, and next time you look in a mirror, remember the room in Switzerland. Remember the 3-second delay. Remember seeing your future self. Remember the paradox. Remember doing the opposite. Remember vanishing. Remember the 3 seconds of darkness. Remember reappearing. Remember the strange clothes. Remember the unknown language. Because the room where mirrors lie is a terrifying secret, and its reflection is a chilling invitation to consider the possibility that some futures are not meant to be seen, and some doors are not meant to be opened. What happens if you look in the mirror and your reflection isn't there? What happens if you look again and your reflection looks back and from somewhere else entirely? What happens if you try to do the opposite and the mirror image smiles? This story was just a glimpse into the strange realities I explore. There are countless other mysteries out there waiting to be revealed, and I'm dedicated to finding them. But with the kind of topics we cover, sometimes you just can't predict what the future holds. So, to guarantee you're always in the loop, to make sure you catch every unsettling discovery I bring to you, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell. Don't risk missing out. You might not get another chance.